guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ali and the video you are about to watch is a video I filmed about my N2 study resources back when I was still living in Singapore, so this is like 2 years ago already. This was back in summer 2022, like a while back, okay? And this is why you will see I look much younger than I look now. Of course, this was 2 years ago, and this is also why I am not dressed for normal weather. I was dressed for Singapore weather, so I'm almost naked, sorry about that. Nonetheless, I hope you guys will enjoy the video and I will see you in my next one. So as you guys know, I'm moving to Japan quite soon and there is no way I'm gonna take every old Japanese resource I have. So before I get rid of them, I wanted to present them to you guys and let you know every resource I used for the Japanese proficiency test for the level N2. In this video, I will share 100% of the resources I have used for Jlpt N2. For the people in the back, Jlpt stands for the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, and so I studied for level N2, which is the second to last level of difficulty of this exam, between around September 2020 to November 2021, so it took me a little bit more than a year to go from level N3 to level N2 of the Jlpt. And so as usual, I will share with you my resources in order per category. So we will cover today grammar, kanji, vocab, reading comprehension, listening comprehension, business Japanese, and others. Alright, let's go with the grammar resources first. I use the Bunpo app. I'm not sure I need to present the Bunpo app anymore, but just for the sake of it and without any sponsorship on their part this time, I'm just letting you know that this is an app dedicated to teaching you Japanese grammar for all levels of the Jlpt. It's an app I've been recommending for years now. I have used this app as an entry level into Japanese grammar for each level of the Jlpt, and I really recommend you check it out. I also use the Nihongo no Mori YouTube channel and their free playlist for N2 grammar and N2 vocab. So once again, just like the Bunpo app, I'm not sure whether I need to present the Nihongo no Mori channel because I feel like everyone knows about this resource. It's an amazing resource to learn Japanese. They also have an app which you actually need to pay for, but if you don't want to pay anything, you can also access their free resources on their YouTube channel, which is what I'm about to present to you today, because at the time I studied for the N2 level, the app wasn't available yet. It was still in construction. So anyway, what I used at the time were 3 playlists specifically for N2 grammar. So you first have one playlist which is about 12 videos and it presents you in the form of courses all in Japanese, basically all the grammar points you need to know for the N2 level. Then you have a second playlist which is even more interesting, and it is the versus playlist. So this is the N2 Bunpo grammar versus, and basically on this playlist, which is 30 videos, again everything is in Japanese. Lessons are about presenting you what the small differences and nuances are between the very similar grammar points from the N2 level, which is something I really appreciated at the time because I was very lost between the N2 grammar points. Most of them are very similar to one another and it's very difficult to differentiate between them. So that's why for the N2 level in particular, they had these courses. And then finally, the last playlist was basically the more modern version of the first playlist I watched. So on this third playlist, there are 24 videos and these are the basic grammar courses. So they basically remake them because the first playlist I watched with the 12 videos was a bit old, dated 5 years back. So I also watched the more modern version, but basically the contents were almost the same. That's pretty much it. That's all I used from the Nihongo no Mori channel for N2 Japanese grammar. I used the Somatome for N2 grammar. The Somatome for grammar is as much a textbook as it is an exercise book. You basically have per day 2 pages to go through, 1 page for the grammar lessons and then 1 page to practice the points you just covered. You do that for 8 weeks and at the end of the 8 weeks you should have covered all the grammar points you need to know for the N2 level. The ShinKanzen Master for N2 grammar. If you don't have much money to put into your Japanese learning resources, I would advise you to purchase the ShinKanzen Master only for N2 grammar, because this is the most comprehensive textbook you will find on the market. It contains everything you need to know about N2 grammar, all the points comprehensively, and on top of that you have exercises as well, and you also have all the explanations about the nuances between the grammar points, which, as I said earlier, are easy to confuse. The Nihongo Power Doriru. The Nihongo Power Doriru is a series of drill books that prepare you exactly for what's coming at the exam. They are formatted in the exact same layout as the exam, and they are an extremely good preparation for the exam. I recommend. And the grammar section of the Doriru and Moshi. The Doriru and Moshi is a drill book which contains drill exercises for the vocab section, the kanji section, and the grammar section of the Jlpt. And I also use this prep book for N2 grammar. Then for kanji, I use the ShinKanzen Master for N2 kanji. The ShinKanzen Master for N2 kanji was the best resource I ever used for kanji altogether, for N2 altogether, and also the best resource of the year 2021 altogether. This was the best resource I singled out for that year specifically. And overall, this is one of the best resources I ever used to study Japanese by myself. It was an amazing mix between textbook explanations and exercises, and also dictation exercises with an audio on CD to study, learn, memorize, and really know N2 kanji. For N2 kanji, if you only want to buy one resource, this is the one. I cannot recommend it enough. The kanji section of the Nihongo Power Doriru for N2. Like I said earlier about this resource, this is a series of drill books, and this one specifically is not for grammar, but it's only for kanji and for vocab, and so I used it specifically for kanji drills. And the kanji section of the Doriru and Moshi. This one, again, I talked about earlier, and this time this is only about the kanji section of this drill book. Now onto vocab. I used the Ikkai de Gokaku Pass in One Try book for N2 vocab. This vocab book had a very simple layout with vocab lists which were themed around certain categories, and then you had exercises using these vocab words. But at the same time, even though it was quite simple, I actually still remember vividly what I learned through this textbook, so I would say that this was one of the best ones I used. The vocab section of the Nihongo Power Doriru for N2. Once again, the Nihongo Power Doriru drill book I presented earlier, and this time the vocab section of it. The vocab section of the Doriru and Moshi. And again, the drill book Doriru and Moshi, and this time the vocab section of this drill book. To practice reading, I used the Somatome for reading comprehension. For some reason, the books from the Somatome series preparing you for the reading comprehension part of the Jlpt exam are extremely useful and very well made, so I really recommend. This one was no exception for the N2 level. Just like the other books in the Somatome series, you just go through 2 pages a day, and this one is a 6-week long practice book. The Ikkai de Gokaku Pass in One Try book for N2 reading comprehension. The Pass in One Try book for reading comprehension this time for N2 level was a good exercise book really for the reading comprehension part of the exam. You can basically either get this one or the Somatome. They don't contain the same things, they don't have the same contents, but the layout is pretty much the same. You can purchase one or the other, or if you want more practice, then you can purchase both of them like I did. Then for listening practice, I actually haven't used any specific resource. I didn't purchase any specific resource for the Jlpt listening section, but I did go through 6 mock exams for N2 with the Todai app actually. And so of course the listening section was included at the end of each mock exam. Alright, right now onto business Japanese. So first, a little word about this. Business Japanese is kind of part of the Jlpt N2 level. Up to a certain extent, you need to understand business Japanese, at least the basics of business Japanese. You don't need to be fluent in business Japanese, but you do need to understand Keigo, so the formal Japanese, the formal way of speaking and writing Japanese. And you need to know how to use it yourself up to a certain extent. And you also need to remember and know how to use certain expressions used in formal situations, as well as, just set phrases, again, to use in business settings or formal situations. So I did a specific focus on business Japanese from August 2021 until the end of that year, until the end of 2021. And I also, during that time, so in September, I sat and passed the BJT, which is the Business Japanese Test. I will explain my whole method around business Japanese and, my experience of the BJT and what the BJT is, so on and so forth, in another video. So today in this video, I only wanted to share with you the specific resources I used for business Japanese towards the N2. So I used the Nippon no Kaisha exercise book. This is an exercise book to help you learn all the polite expressions you need to know and use, and the manners you need to observe in a business setting in Japan. This was all very basic, but it served its purpose as an entry-level book on the matter. The Nihongo de Business Meiru phrase book. I actually don't use phrase books usually, but this one I must say was very useful, and I still use it to this day to know how to turn certain sentences in my business emails in Japanese. So this is basically an inventory of the most useful expressions and tons of phrases you can use in business emails. I used two books from the shadowing series, so the one for general conversations, and I specifically used the chapters for conversations with your boss, conversation with a colleague, or just what to say in a business meeting. And I also used the book for job interviews specifically. To be very honest with you, I actually did not like very much these shadowing books. I thought that these were a bit expensive for what they had to offer. They were very basic. They didn't offer many variations. I didn't have any idea nor motivation to understand how to get the most out of these books. So I basically read them once or twice and then I discarded them. I don't really recommend. I used the BJT Moshito Taisaku prep book for the actual exam. This prep book contained a whole mock exam of the BJT once with a CD for the listening comprehension section. Even if you don't want to go and sit the BJT, this is still useful because this is an entire book that can prepare you very well for the business Japanese section of the Jlpt N2. I also used the BJT Dokkai for the reading comprehension part of the exam. I loved this reading comprehension prep book for the BJT. I actually kept that book and I intend to use it again because for business Japanese, really, this was the best reading comprehension book I found on the market so far. And between August and November that year, so 2021, I also had private lessons, one-on-one, with a French teacher, and she actually taught me the basics of business Japanese, and she just tested me quite a bit on that particular aspect of Japanese. These 5 one-on-one lessons were actually paid by my company because they wanted to support my Japanese learning, and I said I wanted to have specific courses for business Japanese, which they accepted. And one more book I forgot to talk about is actually Keigo Doriru, which I used in its entirety during the summer 2021, and this was an amazing book, actually designed for Japanese natives to learn everything about Keigo and how to use it. And this was a very good entry-level book for me to ease my way through the other textbooks I used after going through this one. I recommend. This is entirely in Japanese, but it's really worth it. Alright, Finally, for the others category, this time I wanted to mention that, of course, I did, during the course of that specific year, I did a lot of immersion. I read multiple books. In Japanese, I actually reached the mark of 50 Japanese books read. So, it was a big milestone for me. I watched tons of YouTube videos, still Japanese dramas, TV shows, movies, you name it. Of course, I was continuing my weekly conversation lessons with my tutor, Hina-san. So I explained everything about my conversation lessons in this video right here. And of course, I was still using the Yomiwa dictionary app. I've been using Yomiwa dictionary app since day one of my Japanese studies, and it's a very, very useful way for me to just look up my vocab, the vocab I don't know and the kanji I don't know, and just store on the app directly in customized vocab list. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope it was useful and insightful for you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!